Donald Trump trying to get back on track amid campaign turmoil. Here to discuss, Stephen Miller, the senior advisor to Donald Trump, Bernard Whitman, the author of 52 Reasons to Vote for Hillary, and Alice Stewart, Republican strategist. So, Stephen, first, what was it like inside the Trump campaign of day one without Corey Lewandowski? What was it like?
Well, Corey performed a tremendous service to this campaign, for which we will always be grateful. And Corey exited the campaign with a degree of class and poise that I think is an example for anybody out there in life to follow. Beyond that, I don't really have anything more to say except for the fact that we're looking forward to running a vigorous general election campaign against Hillary Clinton.
But you realize you didn't answer my question. I just asked you, what was it like?
Well,
so here's what the thing. Okay, so the first panel that I had on, our correspondents, Jim Acosta said, when I said, what was it like today? He said, Don, we've gotten more emails today than we've gotten maybe the entire campaign. You work inside the campaign and you can't tell me what it's like to be.
I'm happy to answer that question.
That's what I said. What was it like for the first day without Corey Lewandowski?
I want to take a moment. I think it's important to take a moment to recognize.
That's fine, but what was it like?
The class with which Corey handled his departure. I think it's an important thing. I think it's an important example for people out there.
So what was it like inside of the campaign?
But today's campaign, yes, we are starting a full howitzer-style rapid response operation in which every lie is going to be rebutted, every falsehood is going to be challenged, every statement that is incorrect is going to be put to the test. And so today, America saw and reporters saw a vigorous, aggressive, full-throated rapid response operation to Hillary Clinton's foreign policy speech.
Thank you very much. That's what so today the campaign released, let me stay with him, numerous press releases ranging from laureate education to Iran, the Iran deal to the economy. He needs to focus on foreign policy. Is he being advised on all these matters now? Are we going to start hearing more? We have heard some things from him. Are we going to start hearing more?
Well, he did give a foreign policy speech, I think maybe like about 6 weeks ago
and now. He's giving some tomorrow.
Right, which laid out his foreign policy philosophy and a shift away from nation building and internationalism to consensus building and focusing on discrete national security goals like defeating ISIS and terrorists.
Okay.
Now, tomorrow he's going to give a speech which is going to get into foreign policy, except it's going to focus, at least in some measure, on the foreign policy of Hillary Clinton.
Rebutting what she said about him today as well.
No, it's going to be focusing on Hillary Clinton's record as Secretary of State.
Okay.
When Hillary Clinton came into office, as we know, none of us we didn't know about ISIS, right? ISIS wasn't even on the map. 4 years later, ISIS in Libya, ISIS in Iraq, ISIS in Syria. Her decision to push regime change in Syria, her decision to push regime change in Libya, her decision to both go into Iraq and then to precipitously withdraw from Iraq has put ISIS all across the Middle East.
He's going to discuss all of that tomorrow, just for a limited time. Go ahead.
And all of these steps are critical for what the next step is. And as he mentioned, Corey did a phenomenal job getting Trump to where he is. But now it's time to shift to the general election mode and focus on fleshing out policies. And no more of what we had in the primary, which from my candidate standpoint, Ted Cruz, we didn't like the fact, but it was attacking Republicans, attacking the RNC, attacking Paul Ryan. Now, clearly, there's a shift to bringing the message against Hillary Clinton, against Barack Obama, and that is clearly what the Trump campaign is doing, and that's what's necessary in order to continue to move the ball down the field and be successful.
Let's talk about money now, okay? Because, we talked about the amount of money earlier on the show, and everyone has been talking about the amount of money that Donald Trump has raised or has not raised. So here's what I want to ask for you, Bernard. This is what Mark Cuban tweeted today about Donald Trump and his campaign finance. He says, if that real Donald Trump were fractionally as rich as he says he is, he would write a $200 million check to propel his campaign. He doesn't have the cash. So you say that the FEC filing was extraordinary and a major indicator of his weakness. Do you think Donald Trump can make up that deficit?
No, I don't. I mean, everybody knows the first thing when you're running a business is you have to watch cash flow. You got to watch out how much you're spending, how much revenue you're taking in. Clearly, nobody was minding the ship. It is an absolute outrage. He has $1 million. That's incredible. It's absurd. It's outrageous. And the idea that he is this amazing businessman that can cut all these deals and negotiate from a position of strength, the one thing you never want to do in politics is have a major embarrassment. Every single person knows that journalists and people who watch campaigns watch these numbers religiously. They know they're going to come out. They make sure to push for fundraising deadlines. He even in his fundraising emails perpetuates his lies. I got to ask my friend Stephen, this rapid response on lies, are they going to actually turn that on their own campaign? Because he is just full of one lie after another after another. The most recent fundraising email that he sent out said, this is the first fundraising email that's ever been sent out by the campaign. He had sent out 4 earlier in the month.
Okay, that
It's
was
outrageous.
unexpected. Would you like to answer that, or you don't have to?
No, it may be fun to pull Hillary Clinton and say I don't want to respond, but I actually do. If you want to talk about something shameful and disgraceful and outrageous, what's outrageous is that Ambassador Stevens in Libya and his staff requested security as many as 600 times, and they were left to die. Blood smeared on the walls of the compound. You've seen the pictures. That is an outrage. I'm sorry, but your feigned indignation over the fundraising numbers strikes me to be insincere at best. And I will also say that we as a country, as a political culture, as a media culture, need to start focusing on the issues that affect the lives of real Americans.
Yeah.
You have situations where you have single mothers who can't even get enough cash to get child care for their children. You have failing schools in the inner cities.
hold on.
You have rising crime. You have
I
falling
have
wages.
missed 2 breaks on this show, and if I miss another one, you will not be seeing me here tomorrow night. So we'll continue this right after the break. And we're back now with Stephen Miller, Bernard Whitman, and also Alice Stewart. So you were responding to what he said.
Two quick points, Stephen. Number one, you know what's truly disgusting is the fact that Republicans like Mr. Trump and the rest of your campaign are continuing to politicize the death of Ambassador Stevens. I know personally that members of Ambassador Stevens' families are absolutely disgusted that the Republicans continue to draw his name through the mud and politicize his death to score political points. It's honestly outrageous.
But you don't think that people have the right to know about her record as Secretary?
No, they
of
absolutely
State,
do.
her
But they
foreign
absolutely do.
policy?
But
She's
continue
running
to
on
bring
foreign
up
policy.
continue to bring up Benghazi and throw Ambassador Stevens' name around to score political points is beyond the pale. You never saw that happen when Al Qaeda attacked the World Trade Centers under George W. Bush. No one went up and said, you know what, George W. Bush is responsible for the deaths of 3,000 Americans. We're going to hold him personally responsible in the way of personal attacks the Republicans and Mr. Trump are doing to Hillary Clinton. It's completely
like to
outrageous.
respond to that?
The other point that I want to make is you talk about hardworking Americans. Where are the hardworking Americans' jobs going to go when Donald Trump gives $3 trillion in tax breaks to millionaires, $2 trillion to corporations, loses 3.5 million jobs, according to Moody's? Hillary Clinton's plan to invest in infrastructure alone would generate 3.5 million new jobs, as opposed to Donald Trump's plan on the economy,
And he's
which would
talking.
cost 3.5 million
He's talking about
jobs.
her plan today,
Yeah,
and there
yeah,
several
right.
people have responded to her
Yeah.
plan, saying that she's actually right. How do you respond?
Well, there's 3 things that he said there. I'll start with the reverse. You can tell what's wrong with the Democratic Party today when they're citing Moody's, the people who helped fuel the subprime lending crisis that crashed the economy. And Moody's also, interestingly, in their plan, if you read the fine print, they said that Donald Trump's immigration plan would raise wages for working Americans. The corollary of that, Hillary Clinton's plan to bring in record numbers of migrants will depress wages for working Americans. Black and Hispanic Americans will suffer the deepest, most severe cuts because of Hillary Clinton's corporatist immigration plan. On your first point, when our ambassador is murdered on foreign soil, it is an issue that affects the entire country. Our entire country came under attack. And if Hillary Clinton refused or failed to provide security to the ambassador and his staff, especially because it is a situation she personally created in Libya, that is a direct factor in her fitness to serve, and she is not fit to serve, not as Secretary
Alice,
of
do you
State,
wanna-
not as President.
Well, I
Do you wanna
think
get in there?
I think obviously you need to be prepared to answer this question again tomorrow, because certainly it will come up in his speech that he'll be making tomorrow, talking about Hillary's accomplishments or lack thereof. I do want to touch on the money situation. If you're just looking at the overall numbers, that's one thing. But you also have to take into consideration, in this last cycle, Donald Trump received $2 billion worth of earned media himself based on his appearances on television. Hillary Clinton around $750 million. That has to be taken into consideration as well. And that is money that he didn't have to raise. He's clearly at the stage now. Stephen has mentioned they've had fundraisers for the last week or so, and that's important. Money is one factor, but all the talk that has been spent today in the last 24 hours on fundraising is something that journalists like to talk
You
about.
think the fundraising is not a big deal?
I don't think it is. First,
Those numbers are old also. They're about 45
One
days
point
old.
also, you have to factor in the parties themselves are also helping on the ground. And this is lost in this narrative. The RNC raised $12 million this last quarter compared to the DNC, $11 million. So we have the national parties with the Republicans outraising the Democrats, and they will help with the infrastructure on the ground. And people do not care how much candidates raise. They're concerned about money in their own pocket, not in the candidate's coffers.
But don't you think it's important that if Donald Trump, as I said to Stephen says he has picked up on people's hopes and dreams, right? And what they want. But in order to accomplish that, he's going to need money to stay in the race. That's the question. If he can't raise money, how does he stay in the race in order to do that?
Well, and that's what they're in the process of. And they've made the shift to focus on bringing on people that will help to focus on policy, focus on the general election message, which will be opposing Hillary as well as Barack Obama, and they're bringing in fundraising.
Hold on, hang on. You don't look at those numbers when you go 42 million, and then you look at 3 million and go, whoa, or 1 million and go, oh, well.
There are a lot of other factors to consider.
Up.
A big portion of the money that is used that a campaign brings in is on paid media. And if you can get $2 billion worth of earned media for free, why spend money? And that's a simple fact of the matter.
That's over.
Absolutely.
That's over now.
Absolutely. Okay. And that's why they're shifting into moving forward.
It's symptomatic of complete disarray in the campaign. The campaign manager was fired. Donald Trump looks like he's going from The Apprentice to The Biggest Loser. He's got an open revolt still. The convention in Cleveland is less than a month away, and suddenly the Never Trump movement is burgeoning again. I mean, you have a situation where the Speaker of the House can barely stand the idea of having to run on the ticket with Donald Trump. You have Mitch McConnell, who basically has sort of given up hope on the White House, just wants to protect the Senate completely. You have evangelical. After that meeting of evangelicals, they had that whole press conference. There was 9 people on the dais. They said, who here is now going to endorse Donald Trump or publicly support Donald Trump? Not a single evangelical leader raised their hand. The silence was
you were in
deafening.
the meeting, weren't you?
I was at the meeting. 1,000 evangelical leaders from across the country, influential people. And here's the thing with that. He was there. He spoke with them about issues that were important to them, including Supreme Court justices, protecting religious liberty, supporting our friend Israel, and issues that they're concerned with. Look, from their standpoint, all the people in that room, they will vote for Donald Trump. But as it stands now, endorsing them, they have more leverage to continue to push him to support their causes by withholding their endorsement and withholding their support, by making sure and holding his feet to the fire on these issues. And that is a big part why they didn't run out of the room screaming, I'm going to endorse and support Donald Trump.
That's a very good point.
And it is about, they have more
leverage,
they have to withhold some of that support in order to
make
make sure
that he stands true. You don't want him to know too soon that he has you.
The election is 4 months away. I mean, the idea that
have you decided who you're voting for yet, by the way?
Hillary Clinton, just in case you were wondering.
It hadn't been clear to me.
You know, the idea that the evangelicals would say, well, yeah, we heard him, not so sure yet. I mean, you have people all across the spectrum. You had Adam Kersinger was on today. He was like, you know what, I'm not right there yet on Donald Trump. I mean, the election is going to come up very, very soon.
I'll tell you this. How about put Hillary Clinton in a room full of 1,000 evangelicals and see how that goes.
The good news is
Good
the
luck.
people, not the politicians, choose our leaders.
Thank you. You're awfully relaxed this time. Look at you, leaning back, chilling out. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
We'll be right back.